we are given what we need in order to grow and evolve. And sometimes that's very painful and it hurts a lot. It hurts like hell.
Yeah.
But at the same time, man, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Welcome to Super Normalized, the podcast where we challenge the conventional, break boundaries, and normalize the supernatural. Join me, CJ, as we explore uncharted realms of existence and unravel the mysteries of our universe. If you have an unusual knowledge or a unique story that you'd love to share, reach out to me at supernormalized@proton.me. Let's make the supernatural the new normal. Today, we welcome to the show Marc Max Pollock. His transformative book, Curious Avatar, Exploring Reality, Spiritual Energy, Personal Transformation, and the Meaning of Life. In this book, he shares his extraordinary journey of overcoming adversity and harnessing the power of the universe. Drawing from his own experiences of poverty, abuse, and homelessness, Marc offers profound insights and healing techniques that help readers to create a life of abundance and fulfillment. Through his non-religious perspectives on creation and his deep understanding of the link between energy and matter, Marc provides a compelling guide for personal transformation and spiritual development. With a background in corporate finance and marketing, Marc's expertise is complemented by his roles as an entrepreneur, investor, author, teacher, energy practitioner, and Reiki Master. Curious Avatar presents a provocative exploration of life, love, and the nature of soul, and the future of humanity, empowering readers to tap into their own creative energy and manifest their dreams. Before we begin, I would like to express my appreciation. If you are enjoying this audio journey with me and would like to support Super Normalize, I kindly ask you to open your podcast app right now and hit up the 5-star rating. That way the algorithms know this is a conversation that is worth sharing. Thank you so much for your support. Now on to the show. So welcome to Super Normalized. Today, Marc Pollock, you've written a book and it's doing great. It's Curious Avatar. How did that come about?
Great. CJ, so good to be here, first of all. I've listened to quite a few of your podcasts, and they are always fascinating, thought-provoking, and I'm all about just staying open and curious. And Curious Avatar basically came about as I'm 62 years old, and I've lived a crazy, crazy life. And I wanted to kind of document my journey. And my journey started, as a lot of folks' journey starts, with a really, really kind of a tragic childhood, and full of abuse, homelessness, just abandonment. And I came out of that childhood just really messed up. And I was, I was mired in poverty and cyclical situations that just weren't healthy. I was I was just in a bad place. And it got so bad, it got to the point where basically I said, listen, I was raised I'm in Dallas, Texas, and I was raised in kind of this hardcore Christian doctrine, and very regimented. I mean, everything outside of the bounds of what was in the Bible was basically of Satan and all of this stuff. And so I got through my childhood, and I was really messed up. I was self-destructive and angry, and I just got to the point where I had to admit that really this isn't working for me. This Christianity. how I was socialized. It just wasn't working for me. So
Mm.
I went about the process of basically just going scorched earth, eliminating all of my belief system, with the idea that either I can come up with something that resonates with my soul and my mind, or I would probably just spiral into some kind of nihilistic, quagmire, and suicidal and everything else. So once I hit that point, CJ, just miraculous things begin to happen.
Mm.
First of all, I was in a state of terror because my entire underpinnings, my belief system about why I'm here, afterlife, what happens after we die, all of that. And I had nothing. So I went about just kind of opening myself up and saying, universe, there are answers out there. I really want to know what they are. And I really want to integrate this into my life. I really want the answers of how reality works so that I can get myself out of this negative spiral, this poverty, these abusive situations. And
Mm.
immediately, things started transpiring. I immediately went to the realm of science for answers, which a lot of
Mm.
folks do.
Yeah.
And I really started getting into quantum physics and the characteristics of new science, and that provided a big foundation as far as the fact that we live in an energetic universe. Everything begins with energy, and this energy is of an intelligent design. So once my brain kind of conceptualized this and started reprogramming to accept this notion of reality, then kind of the doors came flying off, and I was able to then learn how to channel this energy into my life, create reality from this energy. It's very much in line with the magic community, ceremonial magic, chaos magic, whatever, just
Yeah.
different forms of magic.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of similarities with kind of where I came from. Now now I've explored all of that as well, and bringing all of that to my reality. But what I discovered was we basically are avatars for spirit, for pure energy. And and so as avatars for pure energy, our objective is to perfect our consciousness in this material realm so that pure energy can enjoy all the manifestations of matter. And that was the big insight. So I can see the puzzled look on your face, and
No,
it's a big
no,
it's a
it's a big
big
concept.
concept.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big concept. So imagine your pure energy. We all get sourced from pure energy, and in the energetic realm, and religious masters and ancient traditions have discovered this for eons, that when you're tuned into pure energy, to spirit, the manifestations are positive. You feel good. You feel energetic. You feel creative.
Yeah.
So all of these things are manifestations of our spirit. Uh, but imagine that you are just pure energy with no matter. Basically, before the Big Bang, before the 13.8 billion years ago, or whatever it was that this universe came into existence, it came from pure energy.
Mm.
So if you're pure energy, you experience all these benefits, of pure energy, this joy, this bliss, that sort of thing. But you really can't you can't get a hold of everything that we experience in this material realm. The sun on your face, the beauty of nature, just everything in this material realm that we take for granted, you basically are disconnected from.
Right.
So my insight was that humanity is basically here in a long evolutionary process to connect energy to matter.
Mm.
So energy is pure consciousness. We as sentient beings evolved our consciousness, and to the point where now we can serve as a portal or a funnel or a tributary so that spirit can have a direct connection to matter. And that it continues to evolve. Obviously, we have a long way to go, but that continues to evolve. And that's kind of the purpose of why we're here. And we are creative beings because we come from creative energy, and we are imbued with the power to take that energy, funnel it into this material realm, and create wonderful things.
That's a perfect mission. I really love that idea and concept, and also obviously it's a story that we're all living. And it does actually want me to pose the question though. Okay, so we have all this positivity and this creativity. What is the antithesis of that? Is that distraction, and how does that manifest?
Yeah, the antithesis of it basically deals with a dichotomy that's inherent in this material world, especially with humanity. And that is, we are still evolving biological beings. And when I say that, I mean our brain, our gray matter, our brains are legacy items from millions and millions and millions of years of evolution. And you know, we're slowly training our brains to accept more and more direct input from energy from spirit. So the antithesis would be someone who basically lives a brain-oriented life, because in and of itself, your brain is isolated. It only knows the past. It can only experience what has happened. It can't experience the here and now, the present moment. That's why when you go into meditation and you try to connect with the present moment, you immediately connect to your spirit, because you have to bypass your brain in order to do that.
Mm.
When we dream and plan and we feel inspired to create, all of that comes from our spirit. It really doesn't come from our brains. We think it comes from our brains, but it really doesn't. So I contend that it's my opinion that we are slowly, as human race, as I guess representatives of this highest form of consciousness that we know of, that is in this material plane. And I have not had some of the experiences that you have, but maybe with aliens or whatever other life forms. But I think the same concept would apply to anything in this material realm. Basically, we are evolving the ability to channel pure energy in a creative way, so that at some point in the future, humanity will evolve to the point where there is no difference between, there's no obstacle between, our spiritual minds and our physical minds. It will be a pure channel so that we can experience, our spiritual selves can experience the full complement of the beauty and the amazement that's in this material realm. That's basically the concept of the book, Curious Avatar.
Yes.
It goes through a lot of practical applications for this, and case studies as how this manifests in life, in society, in relationships, that sort of thing. And it's a little bit memoirish, but not very much. But I do give examples from my life as to how this has helped me progress from this very low energy state to achieving success, prosperity, healthy relationships, physical health, mental health, and it transformed my life in a miraculous way.
Mm.
And so it's beyond amazing when I think back at how where I was and where I am today. It's just improbable. So the book kind of catalogs my journey through that process, and hopefully it's helpful to people.
Right, right. So you aim to actually help others heal and live their best lives via this book. And I was going to ask you, as a part of that, as a part of your book, do you actually provide any methods and means that people can pick up on through reading the book to access these technologies or these ways of being that you've discovered for yourself?
Absolutely. The book is kind of oriented toward someone who is coming out of maybe a religious tradition or a background where they're searching. They're really kind of they're a free thinker, but they're really kind of searching for some answers beyond their social experience, their church experience, their religious experience. Somebody that's not satisfied with how their life is going and can't figure out what the problem is. And it does provide at the end of most every chapter, there's an exercises that's kind of takes the information in the chapter and tells you how to manifest that in your life, how to apply it to your daily existence. Some of it is just in kind of a narrative form. Some of it is step by step. Here's what I do, and I'm not saying that I have all the answers by any means. But at least this is how it has worked for me.
Yes.
An important point to my journey is when I kind of got rid of all my belief systems, started over. Really, the only thing that I resolved was that any information that I get, that I'm number one, I'm going to stay open to anything.
Yes.
I will try any. So I started really reading all kinds of Eastern religion, philosophy, the occult, you name it. And I would bring all this information in. But the number one criterion is I had to test it in my own life. Now, if it worked for my life, fantastic. I
Yeah.
incorporate it in my life. If it doesn't work for my life, I just discard it and move on down the road. And really, that's my point for everybody I speak with. It's that you have to develop a belief system and a way of looking at the universe and your life and your existence that works for you, that resonates with your mind, that resonates with your own unique spirit. And it may be very different from anybody else. And what I've experienced, it may not be applicable to anybody else, but it sure was applicable to me. And really, that's the only thing that mattered. And that's kind of what I document through that book.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, so when you were in the previous way of being, which was a little bit lost and confused and caught up in all of the mind loops, maybe even spiritual loops, would you say that you were very stuck in materialism at that time?
I was stuck in, I would say materialism, it plays a huge role in how our brain orients, number one. Especially in Western advanced societies. I mean, materialism it's because it's a lens through which we evaluate life and our role in life and where we are and what we're doing. And the reason why it does that is because that wavelength resonates very easily with the brain, with our gray matter brains. Our brain can understand that. It understands when it looks around and sees things that it likes or wants, or people to emulate, or goals to pursue. Those are brain oriented functions. So materialism had a very large role in how I viewed life. But I think the most impactful thing for me in how I viewed life early on, when I was so severely damaged, was my socialization as a child. It just created so many deep wounds psychologically that I tapped down and I buried, and I kept pouring energy on top of it and energy on top of it. And that would just invariably bubble up and cause, lead to self-destructive behaviors and all kinds of just, I was just not a pleasant person, and I was angry, and, and that, I think that formed most of how I viewed life in general. And it wasn't until I started getting a hold of all of that and seeing, okay, this is where all of this comes from. And then I started developing ways to take that low frequency energy from my childhood, from the abuse, from the abandonment, from the homelessness, from the poverty, and recognizing the lessons embedded in all of those situations and all of those experiences, and then ways to alchemize that low energy into high energy that I can actually use to affect real positive change in my life.
So you had these dense energy moments, and you didn't decide to lapse into depression or self-harm to an extreme extent, but obviously you went there in some ways. That must have been a spark of some sort for you to actually rebound from. And how did you
Yeah,
rebound from those places? I mean, what did you do then?
You know what? It just, for whatever reason, CJ, and I don't know the specific answer, to be honest with you.
Yes.
But I was in dark places. I was in really self-destructive places.
Mm.
I had severe depression, anxiety, dissociative mental health disorders, just physical problems. It was a result for all the energy that I had trapped up in my body that I was just, I just couldn't deal with. I couldn't deal with the memories. I couldn't deal with, everything, that had happened to me. So I just bottled it all up, and it just, over time, that just mutates and creates just monsters that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
But and when I kind of described before my epiphany that I was just going to nuke my belief system, that was really out of desperation. I mean, there was nothing else I could do
Mm.
other than probably just in my life. I was just kind of in that kind of a headspace.
Mm.
But, miraculously, and it is a miracle, once I opened my mind and turned my mind over to the cosmos, to spirit, to, say, listen, this is like the old adage, if there is a God, talk to me,
Mm.
it really happened. It's just miracle after miracle after miracle, and just synchronicities, and just all these, reading material, information just being materialized magically, at the right moment. And slowly and painfully, I mean, this was a long, slogging process. It wasn't
Mm.
a road to Damascus moment where I was just like, so suddenly transformed at all. It was just a slow, hard, painful process that happened over years, that I just slowly built this system where I understand the nature of reality. I understand how energy works. I started getting into the healing modalities, and really then training my body and my mind to receive vibrational energy from people, from things. So I just developed this whole kind of a panpsychic view of reality, that everything is energetic, everything is communicating with me, with everything else at all times. Everything is connected. And as soon as that worldview started coming into focus, it makes it impossible to view another person with animosity or angst or hatred, because you understand that we're all so connected, and we're all going through this same process of evolution, this same process of lifetime after lifetime of training our brains and lives and to match with our soul energy, so that our material self is in alignment with our spiritual self. And listen, a lot of days I feel like I have an astronomical way to go in that process, but I've come a huge way from when I was in my early 20s. So
Mm, mm. That's
it's been a great journey.
well. It sounds like from what you've written in the book that it started with your self-discovery of magic, and but not mythological magic. It was more practical magic and the magic of life, and the ability to actually create something real and tangible out of thin air. So that begs the question: what is real magic in your understanding, and how did it impact your life? And is it available to everyone?
Uh, that's a great question, and it's unbelievable how impactful it is that we have the ability to channel energy into our life at any moment, transform and transmute that energy into a form that allows us to create in real time in our lives. I've got example after example in my life, from curing mental health problems to taking myself from poverty into prosperity, from finding a life partner that who is unbelievable and complimented me and just taught me so much, and really was a huge reason why I was able to uh, grow my philosophy the way it's grown. Magic, and I start my book, so magic, magic is real.
Mm,
This is, we're not talking about performative magic. We're
no.
talking about the ability to channel energy, pure energy, and then you can, through practice, absolutely create whatever you would like in this life. And it's available to absolutely everybody, and it's just a matter of training your mind to accept the fact that this is available to you. And once it starts be if once your brain gets to the point where it can accept this concept, then it really loosens you up to receiving more and more energy, and you're able to alchemize more and more in this material realm. And that is exactly why we're here. We are here to serve as this pure channel for energy into the material realm, and conversely, from this material realm back to the spirit, so that we can enjoy, we can experience, we love, we can experience pleasure, we can experience the beauty and all the five senses that we have. We can use all of them to experience this material realm. I believe that that's why we're here.
It actually does sound a lot like a chaos magic sort of path. I'm a practitioner in magic myself, and the way you explain that's very much, and even your life story is very similar to my own. So it's quite interesting listening to you. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I went through too. So it's very interesting that you've explained it that way, and yeah, it does sound a lot like chaos magic in that you take what works and discard the excess, and all of life is magical, and that we are uniquely powerful beings, and just with the right intention and the right, as you say, curiosity, we can bring forth this connection and pure experience of spirit and the spiritual in the now. I firmly believe reality is is heaven that we create if we create it and just step into that power. So yeah, all power to you. I really love this concept. So okay, your calling to write Curious Avatar arose during the pandemic, and as the world struggled with the fear and disruption of those dark times, you realized that your non-religious perspectives on creation and your hard-earned knowledge about the link between energy and matter could help others and further the spiritual development of humanity. Who did you have in mind as a potential reader when you started writing your book?
Yeah, really somebody that's coming from a similar place that I came from.
Yeah.
Somebody that maybe is not familiar with magic as we're discussing it. That's maybe not, that is maybe a little bit uncomfortable with venturing, out of their religious ideology into something new and trying to. So I wrote it for somebody that is, that is kind of dissatisfied with their life and their belief system and their maybe their religious affiliation and the way they were socialized, and is really looking for answers beyond that, but has an open mind, but kind of doesn't know where to start. And so this book is kind of an introduction for folks in that kind of situation, the same situation that I found myself in. And, the whole concept is that once you start retraining your brain to accept these concepts, then your mind starts settling down, and then it becomes a vehicle that's not constantly pushing back at you and not trying to control the narrative, that's not trying to control what reality you're creating, but it's something that is actually a tool that you can use to channel this energy and create what you want in life. I have the concept of creative energy as basically agnostic. So, I'm sure you'll appreciate this from your magic background, is like you can create good, you can create bad, you can create whatever energy you're channeling out into the world, you're creating something at all times. So it behooves each of us to learn to identify that energy, what frequency, and then to channel it into a way that's going to create a reality that is going to help yourself, help everyone around you, and be a positive force for the evolution of humanity. And if you are not aware of that, and awareness is the first thing, you must be aware that you have this power, that you have this capability, that each of us is channeling energy every moment of every day to create reality. And if you're not happy with the reality that you've created, that when you look around, if you're not happy with what's happening in your world, then it's because you've created something that you're not happy with.
Yeah.
It's on you. You created it. So it's just a way to open your mind, then learn how to, okay, I'm creating all this chaos in my life. I'm creating these things I don't enjoy. I'm creating anger. I'm creating angst. I'm creating bad relationships. I'm creating cycles of poverty. How do I stem that? And then how do I, then channel energy and start to alchemize energy in a way that's going to lift me above this reality and create the reality of my dreams. So that's kind of the overall basis for, or my ideas about channeling reality into this material realm.
So we are all ultimately powerful, yet often we do not recognize it and run around actioning spells and intention into reality, and then reality as a feedback device is throwing that what we're throwing out right back at us. And if we don't recognize what we're throwing out, it comes back. And if you can't get educated from that, then you need to maybe pick up this book by the sound of it for sure.
You know what? It's a mirror. Our realities are a mirror of what the energy we're throwing out. And
Yeah, yeah.
and when in the magic parlance, basically you're making a conscious decision to channel certain frequencies of energy to create certain things from a magical standpoint. In my book, it was kind of I wanted to ease folks into this concept. So I don't really call it magic, but I just call it energy. And
Mm,
so so it's about just learning to identify the energy that's stored within you that maybe is you need to exercise this negative energy that's stored deep within your soul and your body and your mind, and cleanse that. And there's ways to do that, and the book kind of outlines some of those. And then also recognize the kind of energy that's in your environment, what you're letting in, and what you're sending out. And
mm.
so awareness is a key to that for sure.
Definitely a key to it. I mean, if you open yourself to the wrong things, you can get caught in loops that actually do not serve you and basically sabotage you as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm, mm,
Absolutely.
mm.
I guess one of the features of my philosophy is called radical accountability. So a lot of questions I get revolve around, why do bad things happen to me? Why, I'm not responsible for my abusive childhood. I'm not
Right.
responsible for, everything, all these bad things that have happened to me, or, and I believe in radical accountability. I believe that I chose this life. I chose my parents. I chose the station that I came into this life in existence. And you can infer from that that I also firmly believe in reincarnation. I believe that we evolve over many, 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 many lifetimes, and we all do. But I also believe that everything when I look back at my journey through my childhood and maybe all the negative things that happened and occurred, I am now, from this perspective, joyful because I recognize that my soul, my spirit, sent me into this landscape to learn specific lessons that are going to
Mm,
help me
mm.
evolve this life that I can then take into my next existence. So, it's really important that we all take accountability for our, not only what we've created and know that we've created, but what seemingly we didn't create, because because in each one of those negative scenarios, there is a diamond. There's a nugget of wisdom. There's a lesson that needs to be learned. And
Yes.
unless you learn that lesson in this lifetime, it carries on to the next. So you're just kicking the can down the road. So I learned that early on, and just been trying to kind of make sure that I continually put myself in a headspace where I'm taking accountability for everything that's happening around me. So, and that empowers me as well, because if somebody does something to you and if it's their fault, then you really don't have much power to deal with the energy unless you say to yourself, this happened to me. It sucked. It was horrible. It was negative. But why is this in my life? Why did I bring this into my life? What can I learn from this
Mm,
situation? What can I learn about myself? What can I learn about existence? What can I learn about this other person? And even when I think back on the people that have hurt me the most, I had a stepfather who was this ex-Marine. He was really abusive and just did horrific things. We ended up as a young child, my mother and younger brother, he went to work and we escaped, right? And we were basically homeless and on the run for a while. But when I think back at him now, I've got nothing but love and compassion. And that's not because I'm a great person, but it's because I was able to dive in, feel all the pain, and then understand that he is coming from a place of pain as well, right? He, even though he did these horrible things, he is a product of his childhood, of his upbringing, of his socialization. What kind of a wounded child would do these kinds of, things? I mean, so, it allows you to develop empathy. It allows you to forgive. It allows you ultimately to alchemize all that negative frequency energy into something that's positive and raise the vibrational frequency of the energy to become empathy and then love, forgiveness, and you release it into the universe and you never see it again. It's it's gone. The way you know that you haven't done that effectively, and sometimes this takes a long time over a long period of time. It takes a long time to kind of go through this alchemizing process.
Yeah.
But when you think about a person that's hurt you and you feel anger, sadness, resentment, whatever it is, if that feeling is still there, you haven't alchemized it. So which is not a bad thing. It just means you've got a little more work to do. So you just have to dig back in, feel the pain, understand who that person was, go back and just try to then raise the frequency of the remaining energy to a place where you can actually use it to reap positive benefits for your own life. And every time that's done, it's not only a weight lifted, it's a joyful experience. So I go through a little bit of that in my book, but it's kind of a lot of people don't like that because they're like, I'm not responsible for all this horrible stuff that's happened to me. But in my parlance, we are all responsible for absolutely everything.
Okay. So basically what happens is people are, as they're going through their, would you say it's like a trauma constellation of pain that's causing all of their story to unfold, through one part of the onion being peeled away, there still might be other parts of that onion, and then that will become reflected back into reality, back to you as another experience until you get it all out of the way. Is that correct?
You know what? That's a great analogy. It is very much like an onion. You peel away a layer at a time, and until you no longer have anything but love at the end. And at the core of that onion, there is love. There always is love. And it's a hard process. It's not an easy process, but I think it's incumbent upon each of us to go through the hard process of life in order to get to there. I mean, that's why we're here. We're here to evolve our beings, our material beings, our brains, to receive this, pure bliss energy that's coming from our spirit. I conceptualize it as we have two minds. We have our spiritual mind, which is our real self. It's the core of who we are. And then we have our gray matter brains, which is the biological mind or brain. So we are trying to program our brains to align with our spiritual mind. And when we die, we go back to our spiritual mind. It's just pure energy, right? And then we prepare for our next evolution. And in that preparation, as in every day of our existence here, we are constantly interacting with other spiritual minds. I had a metaphysical experience one time where I basically had a vision of my spiritual self in the realm of pure energy, and all around me were all these other spiritual minds. And it was, you know, the thing that struck me the most was it was a feeling of pure joy. Even when I looked at the spiritual mind of someone who I didn't, you know, who impacted my life in a horrible way, maybe when I was a child or whatever, their spiritual mind was pure happiness and bliss. Their spiritual mind was really just there to facilitate their own evolution. And all these spirits were in play. It was the most joyful scene you can imagine. Everybody was in play and interaction and helping each other and presenting challenge. You know, it's like, you know, it's you know, when you come into this world, you have, you know, you're born to a mother and father and into a society, into a tribe, and some of those people are uplifting and some of those people present obstacles. Well, those people that are presenting obstacles care just as deeply for you as the people that you think are uplifting, because in the spiritual realm, it's all joy. They're all there. They presented you with those obstacles so you could learn specific lessons, so that you can grow, so that you can evolve. They are doing you a favor. They're giving you a blessing. So it's up to us to recognize that and then take that and then use it for the best benefit we can.
Yeah, this does remind me of recently I've been seeing a lot of NDE videos on YouTube, and the people explaining going into places like this where they've come across other spiritual beings in the same state they are, which is basically like a spiritual light or a spirit being, and experience everyone as bliss. And then when they've been presented with the option of coming back, you know, they've basically like got an understanding that if they go back, there's more pain, but they also have a mission, and that mission is to, you know, bring everyone to consciousness of spirit. So this all aligns just beautifully. And yeah, like obviously every person that's on the NDE videos has chosen to come back. So it's an interesting coincidence.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's fascinating when you read accounts like that, and it's just you know, and I believe it. I mean, I believe that we are, you know, we're just here. We're here to help each other. Yep. And that also, you know, it also, you know, listen, when you're going through life, your daily existence, everybody that you encounter, you're not only encountering their physical form, you're encountering their spiritual form. Yeah. You know, and that encounter is always for a reason, and it may give you the opportunity to give somebody just a quick smile or a compliment, or something positive, but that encounter is there for a reason. So it's really, you know, everybody that we run into in our daily existence, if we're constantly thinking, why is this person in my life? Maybe it's a negative encounter. Maybe you got a store clerk who's rude or whatever. I mean, you can bow up and you can send that negative energy right back to them, or you can say, listen, you're a pure spiritual being at the end of the day. That's who you really are. You're pure joy, you're pure light, you're pure bliss. You're here learning a lesson, just like I'm learning a lesson. Why don't I just, instead of giving you a hard time, I'm going to give you a blessing. You know, God bless you. Thank you for this interaction. You know, maybe it reminded me that I need to be more forgiving or tolerant. Maybe that's the gift that they just gave me, right? You know, I mean, there's always something, you know, but you know, if we could look at everybody in the world that way, that we're interconnected, that we're all here serving a purpose, that we're all here to help each other at the end of the day. Now, that help may be negative, it may be painful, it may be traumatizing, but at the end of the day, that's a lesson that we need to learn. If we take that viewpoint, it makes it impossible to uh, think anything but positive thoughts about that person. And if we could all do that, then there would be no war, there would be no drama, there would be no strife,
Yes.
because we would recognize that we're all connected and we are here for a purpose.
Mm.
The more I go down this journey, the more clear it is that we are absolutely here for a purpose. That we are here to evolve, that we are here to evolve personally. We're here to help everybody around us in our sphere of influence to evolve. That's our responsibility. And, it's a beautiful responsibility. And one day, I don't know when, but it seems to, some days it seems very long way away, but the humanity will evolve to the point where we're a pure uh, uh, portal, a pure path directly to our spirit.
Mm.
And when that happens, I think that that's really the definition of heaven. That's heaven on earth.
It sounds like a point of ascension spiritually, although still living in a body, which would be blissful, I think, for sure. I've experienced states of that myself just through meditation, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a beautiful place, and I think it's healthy that you uh, advise everybody that everyone is actually going through a life experience, and it could be challenging for them at the moment. You don't know what they're going through. We don't know what people are going through. And all of us think we're isolated and our experience is the only one like this, which is quite bizarre because we all have human experiences being human. So it's good to see
Right.
that, and good to recognize that that's what's happening for people. So you, as you say, bless those people any way you can. I mean, sometimes I bless people just under my breath, just say, I bless you, and move on because I know that magic works,
Oh, you know what? It's amazing. I mean,
yeah.
like you can just think a blessing on somebody
Mm.
and you see the their eyes light up. I mean, they don't know why, they don't understand it, but the
Mm.
energy is there. It's real, it's tangible.
Yeah.
And we can project this energy all day, every day.
Mm.
And it's just little micro creations of bliss and pleasure and joy.
Yeah.
And we have control over that. And on the same token, we also have control over the energy that we take in.
That's right.
So if somebody comes up at us with negative energy, if you're aware, all of a sudden you start feeling agitated or anger or or whatever. As soon as that feeling comes up, you can train your body or your mind to become aware and then go, okay, here's what's happening. I'm letting this negative energy in. Instead of doing that, I'm going to take this negative energy and I'm going to alchemize it, raise the frequency, and I'm just going to send it back,
Mm.
enjoy, and release it.
Yeah.
And that is, and that segues into the whole concept of karma and how we take on negative karma and carry it around with us. Or we can instant karmically take that energy, alchemize it, use it to our benefit and the benefit of everybody around us, and release it
Mm.
back to the universe instead of bearing the burden of it.
That's right. Yeah. Transmutate all that energy into better energy so everyone actually ascends.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's a really good message, Mark. I often ask at the end of a talk like this what people think of where we are right now in our extremely changing times, and any tips and advice that you'd like to give to the listeners on making their way through what I call apocalypse, which really is just another way of saying revealing. And yeah, do you have any pro-life tips on that and where you could guide people?
Yeah. I mean, I have a sense, CJ, that, in listen, if you listen to mainstream media and media in general, and read the newspapers. I mean, it can be really depressing.
That's
I mean, it
right.
seems like the world is just going to hell in a handbasket, and there's all kinds of, everybody's out for themselves and blah, blah, blah. But I really believe that if you take a perspective, if you step back, take a perspective on where we are as a human race compared to history, I think we're so much better than we ever have been. I also really, really believe, and this is from talking to people like you, that we are, as a human race, ascending the ladder of energy. So we are slowly but surely increasing our the energetic frequencies that we're able to perceive, that we're able to transfer out into reality, and that at some point there will be a tipping point. I don't know when that's going to be, and sometimes it feels like that tipping point's a long ways away. But I do feel like that there are more and more people like you, like me, like a lot of folks we know that have a vested interest, a real interest in raising the energetic frequency of humanity and trying to, and just evolving themselves and our sphere of influence, contributing to our sphere of influence in a way that's going to evolve those around us. And I think that at some point there's going to be a tipping point, and things will just accelerate, geometrically.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I would say filter the energy that comes into your life. Number one, do not fall for the deception that that nihilism is real. We are here as spiritual entities, as avatars for our spiritual minds, to accomplish what we need to accomplish, and that is to evolve ourselves and to help evolve everybody around us.
Mm.
And slowly but surely, that is gaining traction, I think, more and more. And I listen. I'm from Dallas, Texas. This is the Bible Belt. This is like, Christianity on steroids over here, right? And even people that I grew up with, that I know well, that, really have a strong Christian faith. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Christianity or strong Christian faith or that church. It just didn't work for me. But I see people that come from environments where basically it's exclusionary, right? Their ideology is, listen, unless you believe what I believe, you're going to burn in hell, whatever. I see the cracks opening even within those communities where people recognize that we're more and more that we are all connected, that all of reality is connected, not just humanity. We're connected to nature. We're connected to everything in existence. And science is slowly but surely also supporting that contention. Advances in quantum mechanics, is just revealing over and over and again in more detail that we live in a energetic universe. We are constantly communicating energetically with everything in our environment at all times. And I don't think that there's even a doubt within the scientific community now that is indeed happening. And that's a long way from the old Newtonian physics that perhaps everybody that my age certainly was raised with, that basically it was just mechanical, and there's really no spirit or soul behind everything that's happening in this world, and all these material things that we're surrounded by. So I'm optimistic. I think things are gaining traction, and I would encourage people to just deal with yourself. That's where you start. Just heal yourself. understand that you're connected to all of humanity, then understand that you're connected to all of life, and then understand that you're connected to all of matter. And then, once more and more people do that, then it just gains traction. And at some point, there's going to be a radical transformation of our spirit and our material selves.
Perfect. That's a perfect summary and a beautiful way to end into the podcast. So I wanted to ask you, how can people find you and find your book?
Thank you, CJ. Yeah, it's you can find me on my website, Marc Max Pollock at Gmail, and that's Mark with a C. My book, Curious Avatar, is wherever you buy books, on Amazon. If any of your listeners pick up that book, I appreciate it. Number one, thank you for that blessing, and also just let me hear from you. Love comments and suggestions.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much for your time, Mark. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and hearing about your life story and how it basically forced you to evolve and then all of the fruits of that labor. I mean, your book is doing really well, and I'm sure a lot of people will want to pick that up after having a listen to you talk today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, CJ, and bless you.
Thank you. All right. Bye for now. All power to Mark. He's taken initiative there and changed his own life in his own way, and appropriately shared exactly what he experienced and may help others, which is something I think a lot of us can and will and are more so doing. If you've enjoyed today's show, please share it to your friends, and if you have something you'd like to share on the show, please get in contact with me directly at supernormalized@proton.me. Until next week. Bye for now.